Hello everyone. Today I will be discussing certain grammar questions from the AECC II English question paper of Sambalpur University. I will be talking about the question papers of 2021 and 22. And this analysis, I hope, will give you an idea of how to deal with the grammar questions. Before I go into the discussion, however, I would like to tell you something. It is important to teach English in English rather than in Odia or Hindi. There is a reason. If you listen to the chapters in Odia or Hindi, probably you will learn the content, but you will not learn the language English. And you have to appear the English examination in English. You might have terms for words, for ideas in Odia or in Hindi or whichever language you speak. Those terms might be there in your mind, but English words will not come to you if you don't listen to English being spoken. And as a teacher of English, I want you to acquire the language, not just the content of a story or an essay. And you will acquire the language when you listen to English being spoken often. When you try to speak in English, sometimes, no matter if it is faulty English, you must try to speak in English regularly. Learning a language is just like mathematics. Just as formulae won't help you solve the problems automatically, you have to practice individual sums in order to be a good mathematician. In the same way, you have to practice grammar every day. And if you just study grammar out of context, you try to remember individual sentences, that won't work. You have to see English being used in different contexts. You have to read something in English every day. You have to listen to English every day. You have to try to speak in English every day if you want to acquire this language. So remember, though I am going to discuss grammar in short for the purpose of your examination, I believe that grammar cannot be taught in just one session. If you want to internalize grammar, then you have to be acquainted with the use of English. Okay, so that is all I have to say. Now, let us go into an analysis of the question paper. First thing that I noticed was questions about synonyms and antonyms. Synonyms are words with similar meanings and antonyms are words with opposite meanings. You have to remember this. Okay. And usually the words which you have come across while reading the chapters, they are given in the examination. So if you are careful and you have noticed the words and their meanings as we have discussed the texts, then you should be able to do it. Okay. For example, we have a word turbulent. What could be the synonyms? Actually, there are more than one words which could mean the same and more than one words which could mean the opposite. Okay. So turbulent. This word is an adjective. So the synonyms will also be adjectives. Okay. So what are the synonyms of turbulent? Unstable, chaotic, stormy. So at least one or two of these words you must be acquainted with. Okay. Then what could be the antonyms or opposites of turbulent? If turbulent is something which is unstable, then the opposite is stable, calm, peaceful. Okay. Then let us come to another word. And these are words taken directly from the question papers, last year's question papers. Okay. Baffle. The synonyms are confuse, puzzle, mystify. And all these are verbs. Always remember, first you have to know which part of speech the particular word belongs to, and then you will write the synonyms and antonyms using the same part of speech. So if the word is an adjective, the synonym has to be an adjective. If the word is a verb, the synonym or the antonym has to be a verb. Okay. So here baffle is a verb which means confuse, puzzle, mystify. Okay. So if these are the meanings of baffle, what could be the opposites? Clarify, enlighten, explain. Okay. So these are the opposites of the word baffle. Then let us look at another word, castigate. This is a verb again. And you see, you need not become too worried that you will get too difficult words, because often, I do not say always, but often words are taken from those chapters. Okay. So castigate, it means scold or blame or censure. So if you know these words, scold or blame, you will be able to write the synonym. What are the opposites? Antonyms? Approve, praise, honor. So you see, if you know the meaning of a particular word, if you know a simpler word, okay, castigate means blame or scold. So what could be its opposite? What is the opposite of scold? Praise. Okay, so the opposite of castigate is praise. All right, so this is a way in which you can bring words to your mind. I understand that on the day of the examination, there is usually pressure, but you have to be careful about, these words that you have learned while you read all those chapters. Okay. So if you can bring to mind the meaning of a particular word, you can write its opposite. Okay. And meaning is, of course, a synonym, it would be. But a synonym is different from a meaning. You don't have to confuse these two words. Meaning, you can write in more than one word. Okay. But synonym has to be a single word. Right. Okay. Then we come to the other word, novice. Novice is a noun. Who is a novice? Someone who is a beginner in anything, who is a learner, who is a newcomer. So all these things are synonyms of novice. What are antonyms of novice? What are the opposites of these words? Beginner, expert, somebody who is experienced. Okay, somebody who is a specialist in his or her field. So that word would be opposite to novice. Novice means newcomer, beginner or learner. Okay. Then let us look at specific questions from the question paper. How questions are asked. Find synonyms of the following words and make sentences of your own. So there is an extra step. You have to make sentences with those synonyms. Okay. First, it is our work to find out synonyms. Synonyms, words meaning the same. What would be a synonym for faithful? Loyal. Loyal is a simple word. We know that word. Okay. So faithful, loyal, they are synonyms. Now you have to make a sentence with loyal, a sentence of your own. Okay. For example, she has always been a loyal friend. Okay. Now the other word is exterior. What could be another word that would mean the same? Outer. Okay, exterior layer of something, outer layer of something, exterior covering, outer covering. Okay, so now let us make a sentence with outer. The package's outer covering was damaged. Okay, so if you get a question like this, I hope you will be able to find out a synonym. Okay, and then make a sentence with that synonym. Then, another question, find antonyms of the following words and make sentences of your own. So you have to read the question carefully. What does it ask? Okay. Many a time it is a problem if you cannot understand the question. That is why I say you have to get used to English. Otherwise, no, you cannot memorize everything. You cannot resort to rote learning. You cannot, just memorize every sentence that is there in this language. No, that is not what we mean by grammar. Having knowledge of grammar means you understand how the language is being used, and when you use that language, you apply that understanding. It is your ability to produce sentences. Okay, that is what we mean by the value of grammar. Otherwise, why would we study grammar? Okay, so grammar, if we learn it, we must use it. Otherwise, we will forget it. Okay, so now let us see. Find antonyms of the following words. What are the words? One is brief. Brief means, if I ask you what would be the synonym of brief? Short, right? Brief. Write in brief. Write an essay in brief. Okay. So whatever it is, you write in short. That is the meaning of brief. So what would be the opposite of brief? Long. Okay. So we have the first antonym, brief. Its opposite is long. Now you just make a sentence with long. It is a long story. Okay. Then reject. See, brief is an adjective. Long is also an adjective. Reject is a verb. So its opposite has to be a verb. Reject, you reject something. What is the opposite? You accept something. Okay. So an example would be, the board of directors accepted the proposal. And here I want to tell you that even if you use another tense of the word accept, it is fine. Okay, depending upon the context of your sentence, if you use a particular verb in the past tense, it is fine. Okay, so the examiner will understand that you know the use of that particular word and you are able to use it in a given sentence in the proper tense. Okay, then that is all about synonyms and antonyms. So some questions you will have on this topic. Then active and passive voice. From what I have studied, you get sentences where you have to change the voice. So it is important to understand active and passive voice. It is not that this topic is new to you. You must have studied it in your school. Just to make a quick revision. When A does something to B, there are often two ways to talk about it. Okay. So suppose the sentence would be, Sheila, just think of a sentence. Sheila submitted the assignment to the teacher. Okay. So A does something to B. Sheila submitted the assignment. Let us look at this half of the sentence. Okay. Then there are often two ways to talk about it. Sheila submitted the assignment, or the assignment was submitted to the teacher by Sheila. Okay. So we use active verbs if we want A to be the subject. So Sheila submitted the assignment. Sheila is A and assignment is B. Just think that way. So if A is the subject, we will use active verbs. Sheila submitted the assignment. And we will use passive verbs if we want B to be the subject. The assignment was submitted by Sheila. Was submitted. Now, when we make this change, we have to be very careful about the tense. So, submitted is in the past tense, so the passive voice would also have a past tense there. Okay. Now, we make passive verbs with be plus past participle. The passive is not very common in informal speech. You do not use the passive voice in informal speech, but it is a regular feature in formal, especially scientific texts. When you write, when you describe an experiment and you maintain records, often you will see that you use the passive voice. Okay. So, was submitted. Was is a form of be. Okay. And submitted is the past participle of submit. So, be plus past participle. That is how we form a passive. Okay. Now, this is just something from the theory, but you have to look at sentences if you want to understand it properly. The committee asked Mr. Patel to become the director of the institute. This is written in the active voice. The committee asked Mr. Patel to become the director of the institute. Now, we can form the passive in two ways. One, Mr. Patel was asked by the committee to become the director of the institute. The other would be, second one, Mr. Patel was asked to become the director of the institute. I just left out the phrase by the committee. What is the difference? Both of these are valid passives. Okay. What is the difference? In the first sentence, it is important to say that this was the decision of the committee. So the committee must be mentioned. In the second sentence, the committee is not that important. What is more important? That Mr. Patel was asked to become the director of the institute. That was more important. Who decided it? Probably the committee, and everyone else wanted it. Okay. So here you can leave out the phrase by the committee. Okay. So sometimes this omission, we call this an omission when we leave out something, a certain phrase. So we omit that phrase. Okay. So sometimes this omission is there to show us which part of the sentence is more important. Okay, otherwise both are fine. Both are correct from the grammatical point of view. Okay. Then turning actives into passives. So what are the things that we have to remember while we turn actives into passives? First, replace the active verb phrase by a matching passive one. Matching. It means the tense is important and subject verb agreement is also important. Okay. Then make the object of the active clause the subject of the passive clause. Now, don't be, frightened by all these generalizations, because we are going to look at an example. Okay. So make the object of the active clause the subject of the passive clause, and make the subject of the active clause the agent of the passive clause. The agent is somebody who does the action. So you see, even if we say the assignment was submitted by Sheila, here, who is the person who is doing the action of submitting? It is Sheila. So Sheila is the agent of the action. But what do we change in the passive? The subject of the active clause is the agent of the passive clause. So agent, when we use the word by, we refer to the word coming after it as an agent. So this was done by so and so. All right. So this is a structure of expressing the agent. Okay. So these are the three things which you have to remember. The agent is the noun phrase which occurs after the preposition by in the passive clause. The agent is an optional part of the passive construction. By plus agent can be omitted altogether. So it is optional. That is why I gave you the example where by the committee was left out or omitted from the passive sentence. Okay. Now we will look at these 3 points. So you have to have a passive verb matching the active verb. So here, let us look at this sentence. Many critics disliked the play. The action is disliked. It is in the past tense. Now, when we will convert it into a passive verb, we will need be, the correct form of be verb plus past participle. So, what would be the correct form of be verb here? Was, because it is in the simple past tense. Simple past tense of dislike is disliked. So, the passive form would be was disliked. Okay. So many critics disliked the play. So now the object of the active clause will become the subject of the passive clause. So now we have the play was disliked. Then we will have to express the agent of the action. So who disliked the play? The critics, by many critics. So many critics, that is the noun phrase that comes after by. So there we have our agent. All right. So now many critics disliked the play, that is in the active voice, and the passive voice is the play was disliked by many critics. And here you have the option of leaving out by many critics. Suppose it is not important who disliked the play, but you just want to stress on the fact that the play was disliked. If you just stop at the play was disliked, it would be fine. All right. That is why it is said that the agent, expressing the agent in a passive sentence is optional. But sometimes you have to mention it because it is important. Suppose, the audience loved the play, but the critics disliked the play. So if the situation is that way, it is important for you to mention by the critics. The play was disliked by many critics. Okay. So from an examination point of view, you are not given contexts like that. So both would be fine. Okay. Then, forming passives from active verbs with two objects. Sometimes there are two objects. Let us look at this sentence. The college gave Dr. Das no authority to take such a decision. Okay. Gave, that is the action word here. Okay. Dr. Das, one object, no authority, that is another object, two objects. How do you form passives? From an active sentence, a sentence in an active voice, which has two objects. One way of forming the passive would be, Dr. Das was given no authority by the college to take such a decision. Okay. So here Dr. Das becomes the subject of this sentence. Another way of expressing the passive would be, no authority to take such a decision was given by the college to Dr. Das. Or if you just want to omit by the college, you just say, no authority to take such a decision was given to Dr. Das. Okay. So we have two different ways of forming the passive, and both are fine. All right. Then, passives without agents. So, as I told you, sometimes we leave out the agents. What could be the reason? Look at this sentence. The question will be discussed at a meeting tomorrow. The fact that the question will be discussed at a meeting is important. Who will discuss it? That is not so important. And that is why we have left out the agent. The performer of the action is unimportant. Okay. Then, next sentence. A police officer was killed last night in a road accident. It is very important to mention that a police officer was killed last night. That is, the important thing. Why? Because who killed the police officer is not known. Nobody knows. Okay. The performer of the action is not known. So you have passives without agents when the performer of the action is unimportant or when the performer of the action is unknown. Okay. Then, passives with prepositional verbs and non-finite verb phrases. Even if you don't understand, these grammatical terms, just look at the sentences and you will understand what I am talking about. The members talked about other possibilities at the meeting. This is a sentence in the active voice. The members talked about. When you have a preposition about following a verb and they form a phrase, we also call them prepositional verbs. Okay, so about goes with talk. All right, the members talked about other possibilities at the meeting. So how will we convert this into a sentence in the passive voice? The members talked about other possibilities. The members A, other possibilities B. So now B will come to the front. Other possibilities. Now look at the tense of the verb, past tense. Okay, talked. Now, we also have to look at subject-verb agreement. So here, other possibilities. So, which is the correct form of the be verb? Where. All right. Other possibilities, plural. Other possibilities were talked about. So, talked about will go together here. All right. Other possibilities were talked about at the meeting. Okay. Then, Let us look at the next sentence. I just don't like people staring at me. People staring at me. See, here, this part of the sentence you have to convert into the passive. I just don't like being stared at. So, stare at. Again, a prepositional verb. So, people staring at me. I don't like that. So, I just don't like being stared at. By people, it is optional. You may write it, you may not write it. Okay. Then, I want everybody to understand this. I want everybody to understand this. To plus a verb form where tense is not attached. Okay, I want everybody to understand this, to understand. Now we have to convert this into the passive. So I want this, to understand this. Okay, I want this to be understood by everybody. So here understand is the action we are concerned with. I want this to be understood by everybody. Okay, so these are some special kinds of sentences which we have to keep in mind. All right. So these are the main points which you must keep in mind while trying to change the voice of a particular sentence, whether it is converting an active sentence in an active voice into a passive, or converting a passive into an active sentence. All right. Now, another kind of questions that you might be asked, correct the sentences, correct the errors. There would be a particular error and you have to correct them. Okay. Let us look at one of the sentences from the question papers. She died before her husband came. See, when we have two verbs in the past tense in one sentence, then what do? We use the simple past for the action which happened later, and we use the past perfect for the action that happened earlier. So in this sentence, which is the action that happened earlier and which is the action that happened later? She died before her husband came. That is what the sentence says. So she died. That happened earlier. Husband came. That happened later. Okay. So for action that happened earlier, we will use the past perfect. So the correct answer is she had died before her husband came. She had died before her husband came. Right? Then, let us look at another sentence. Mahatma Gandhi has written, "My experiments with truth." And here you will wonder, what is the problem with this sentence? The problem lies in the quotation marks. You see, when we write the name of a book, all right, when we write the name of a book, if it is printed text, then we write the name of the book in italics. But if it is a handwritten text, that means you're writing this in the examination, then you write the name of the book and you underline it. Okay. We can write the title of an essay within quotation marks, a particular chapter of a book or a particular essay. Those titles can be written within quotation marks, but when it is a book, we either write it in italics or we underline it. Okay, so if you are asked to write this in an examination, it would be something like this. Mahatma Gandhi has written, "My experiments with truth." You underline it, and that would be the correct way of expressing it. Or, suggesting that this is the name of a book in handwritten text. Otherwise, in printed text, it would be written in italics. Mahatma Gandhi has written, "My experiments with truth." Okay. Then, let us go to the next one. We are working hard since last month. So, since last month, we take a particular point of time as reference, last month. Since that time, something has been happening. So, we have to use has been happening. Present, perfect, continuous. Okay, it is still continuing and it has started from a particular point of time. So the correct way to say this would be, we have been working hard since last month. Okay, so the hard work continues. That is why we have been working hard since last month. There, let us look at the next sentence. The general as well as his staff were there. That is the sentence. What is the problem with this sentence? The problem is with the subject-verb agreement. In this kind of a sentence, the verb has to agree with the subject, the general. Whatever else is there, that is in addition to the subject. Okay, the general as well as the staff. So staff in addition to the general, but the verb has to agree with the general. This is different from the word and. Okay, so Sheila and her friend were at the party. In that case, we will use were because and is different. Expressions like as well as, this is just an addition. All right. Here, the general is the more important thing and this is just an addition. Whereas in the other sentence, which, where the two subjects they are connected with and, both are equally important. All right. Both Sheila and her friend, both are equally important so far as information is concerned. But here, the general as well as the staff, this is just in addition to the first information, which is important, and the verb has to agree with the general. So the general as well as the staff was there. That is the correct way to write this sentence. Okay. The phrase as well as does not make subjects plural. That is the thing. When as well as, together with, including, accompanied by, in addition to, all these are similar phrases. When these are used, when all, any of all these phrases is part of the subject, the verb must agree with the noun before such a phrase. So we have to make the verb agree with the noun before as well as in this sentence. So before as well as we have the general. So our verb must agree with the general, which is singular. So we will use was and not were. Okay. Then the behavior of the boys and girls were highly objectionable. What could be the problem with this sentence? Again, there is a problem with subject-verb agreement. Now see, the subject of this sentence is the behavior, not boys and girls. Boys and girls may be in plural, but behavior is in singular and we are concerned with behavior. Okay, so we must understand what actually is the subject of the sentence, because our verb has to agree with the subject-verb agreement. Okay. The behavior of the boys and girls was highly objectionable. That is the correct sentence. Okay. Do not be confused by a phrase that comes between the subject and the verb. The verb agrees with the subject, not with a noun or pronoun in the phrase. Here the subject is behavior, not boys and girls. So the behavior of the boys and girls was highly objectionable. Okay. So, these are some of the sentences which I found in the question papers, which asked you to correct the errors in them. All right. Then another category of questions, do as directed. Whatever direction is given to you, do accordingly. That is the meaning of do as directed. First, university is no place for dash lazy. What is the direction given? Fill in the blank with the correct article. Article? Okay. A and the. I have to choose one from these three. What could be the correct article? Lazy. Usually, if we see in an expression like lazy girl, lazy is adjective. What kind of a girl? Lazy girl. But here, it is not used as an adjective. Remember, adjectives, they do not take articles before them. Nouns take an article before them. Okay. A lazy girl. So A, this article refers to girl and not lazy. But here, lazy is not used as an adjective. It is used as a noun. It is used as a collective noun, a group. It refers to, here the word lazy refers to a group of people who are lazy. Okay. So university is no place for the lazy. And when we use a particular word to refer to all the people who are lazy, so all the people in the world who are lazy, they belong to one group. There is only one such group. And if there is only one thing of its kind, something unique, then we use the definite article, the. If all the lazy people, they come under this group, there is only one group. So we will use the definite article. And this word here refers to a particular group. Okay. So university is no place for the lazy. That would be the right answer. Then, I prefer a book of travels dash one of adventures. So here you have to remember that prefer, it takes two. I prefer a book of travels to one of adventures. That means if I'm given the option of reading a book of travels and a book of adventures, I would choose a book of travels because I prefer a book of travels to one of adventures. I like it more. I would choose it. That is the meaning. Okay. So here the direction was fill in the blank with the correct preposition. So look at what could be asked. Article which you have studied, preposition which you have an idea about. So these are not new things. Okay. Then, can you cure me dash the disease? Fill in the blank with the appropriate preposition again. Can you cure me of the disease? That is the right preposition, of. Cure someone of a disease. That is how it is used. That is why I say you have to be acquainted with the use of grammar. If you just memorize it, it won't work. You have to use it. You have to keep this in mind. And then sometimes you have to try to speak it, try to say it, try to use it. Okay. Then another sentence, they have cut all telephone wires. And what is the direction given? Change the sentence into passive voice. Just now we talked about active and passive voice. They have cut all telephone wires. So how would you convert this sentence into the passive? All telephone wires have been cut. All telephone wires have been cut. As I told you earlier, it is not important to mention the agent. This is fine. Then, the next is a question. Was the thief caught by the policeman? Question mark. Was the thief caught by the policeman? And this is in the passive voice. You have to change this sentence into active voice. This is a kind of interrogative sentence, a sentence that expresses a question. Okay, so was the thief caught by the policeman? Now we have to match the verb. Was the thief caught? So now we have to use the verb did. It takes a tense, past tense. And if it takes the past tense, then the other word catch would be in its bare form. Did the policeman catch the thief? That is the correct way to ask this question in the active voice. Okay. Did the policeman catch the thief? Okay. Then, we must leave now or we will miss the start of the film. Rewrite the sentence using unless. Okay. Now, this sentence expresses a condition. We must leave now or we will miss the start of the film. That means, if we do not leave now, we will miss the start of the film. So, this is a sentence which expresses a condition. It is a conditional sentence. How are we going to rewrite the sentence using unless? Unless we leave now, we will miss the start of the film. This is same as saying if we leave now, if we do not leave now, we will miss the start of the film. It is same as unless we leave now. Unless has a negative meaning. If we do not leave now and unless we leave now, they have the same meaning. Unless we leave now, we will miss the start of the film. That is the correct way to write this sentence using unless. Then, sensitive data should not be fed into the computer. Should not be fed. Be plus past participle. So, this sentence is already in the passive voice. And what is the direction given to us? Change the voice of the sentence. Here, you are not told whether, you have to form a sentence in the passive voice or in the active voice. It means the examiner wants to test whether you understand which voice the given sentence is in. So how will you understand it? If you look at the structure of the verb, be plus past participle of a particular verb. That means the sentence is in the passive voice. So sensitive data should not be fed into the computer. Then what would be the sentence in the active voice? You should not feed sensitive data into the computer, or one should not feed sensitive data into the computer. So the verb in its basic form is feed, F-E-E-D, and the past participle is fed. Okay, so you should not feed sensitive data into the computer, or one should not feed sensitive data into the computer. Okay, then we are now going to look at direct and reported speech, direct and indirect speech. We are going to be late within quotation marks. Varsha said. Change the statement into reported speech. This is a direct speech where you have quotation marks and you have to change this into reported speech. Reported speech and indirect speech, they are the same. So Varsha said that, and here you have to be very careful. You have to express the same thing in indirect speech without changing the meaning. Okay. So Varsha said that they were going to be late. Now you see, when we talk about direct speech, whatever is given within the quotation marks, that represents whatever was said exactly at a particular point of time. So even if this was said in the past tense, okay, whatever is given between the quotation marks can be in the present tense. Here you are given the exact thing that the speaker said. But when you are changing it into reported speech, some things have to change. First, we will become they, and are will have to agree with said, which is in past tense. Okay, and it will become what? Where. Okay, so past tense of are, where, and we will become they. Varsha said that they were going to be late. That is the right answer. Varsha said that they were going to be late. Then, we hate him. Change the voice. Again, this is in active voice. You have to change it into passive. Hate. It is in the simple present. So how will you turn it into the passive? We hate him. He is hated. Is the correct form of the be verb plus the past participle of hate, which is hated. He is hated. That is fine. Or if you want to express the agent, he is hated by us. We will become us. He is hated by us. Okay. Then, next sentence. They have a discussion dash football. Use correct preposition. You have a discussion on something or about. You can also write about. But you have to be very careful. When we say they have a discussion on football, that is fine. But when we use the verb discuss, we will not use about or on, neither of them. Okay. They discuss football. You discuss something and you have a discussion on something. You have a discussion about something, but you discuss something. You have to remember this. Often students make a mistake when they say discuss about football. No, have a discussion on football or have a discussion about football. That is fine. But discuss football. They discuss football. Here, that is not our concern. We have to use a preposition because here the structure is have a discussion. Okay. They have a discussion on football. About is also fine. Then, I met my friend after 5 years. Exact thing that was said, given within quotation marks. I met my friend after 5 years. So here we have a past tense, and then the other part of the sentence also has a past tense. Rakesh said. Now, when we will convert this into the reported speech, we will have two verbs in the past tense. So again, we have to think which action happened earlier. We have to use the past perfect for that. We cannot, this is not direct speech, so I cannot present the exact thing, right? So how will we say this? Rakesh said that he had met his friend after 5 years. Rakesh said that he had met his friend after 5 years. Then, she wanted a new hat dash any price. Now, this is another kind of question that you might get in the examination. You will be given the answer, but the answer will be present in options. Okay, you have to choose the right option. She wanted a new hat dash any price. And which are the two words that are given? At or for. Now you see, at any price, that is an idiom. That means it has a special meaning. At any price. It means for any amount of money. That is one meaning. Another meaning is without caring about the results or consequences. I want this at any price. That means I want this. I don't care about the consequence. I don't care about the result. So that is one meaning of at any price. Another meaning is for any amount of money. Okay. So here both meanings are applicable. She wanted a new hat at any price. So at is the correct choice. Then, today I dash to the supermarket because I want to buy some apples. I want to buy some apples. It refers to the future time. So today I will go to the supermarket because I want to buy some apples. Your writing is bad, comma, but mine is dash. The words given are worse or worst. Now you see, here we will talk about the comparative degree of adjectives and superlative degree of adjectives. Okay. So good, better, best. When we talk about one person, we say he is a good man. Suppose there are two people. Okay. And we will compare them. We will compare their goodness and we will say, he is a better man. There are two people. Okay. And that particular person is a better man in comparison with the other person. So if there are two individuals, then we will use the comparative degree. Suppose there is a whole group. There are 5 or 10 people standing together. And you want to say, he is the best player in the team. So you're talking about a team. He is the best player in the team. So out of all those people in the team, this person is the best. So that is the superlative degree of an adjective. So good, better, best, bad, worse, worst. Okay. Bad, then worse when there is a comparison between two people. Okay. And worst when there are more than two people and there is a comparison amongst all of them. Okay. Here, look at the sentence. Your writing is bad, but mine is dash. So here there are two people. You, I. Two people. Your writing is bad, but mine is worse. W-O-R-S-E. Not the other one. Worse. Here we have to use the adjective in the comparative degree because there are only two people. You and I. Your writing, my writing. Okay. Comparison between two people. Then, I try to visit my relatives in my hometown dash other month. There is a difference between every other and each other. How do we use each other in the sentence? So, they understood each other. You get the meaning, right? They understood each other. But every other, what does it mean? Every other month means, suppose you see, she visited her relatives every other month. What is the meaning of this phrase? It means she visited her relatives every alternate month. That means she would visit her relatives in January, then in February she would not visit, then again in March she would visit them. In April she would not visit, again in May she would visit them. So alternate months. Okay, that is the meaning of every other month. So it might be every other day. That means today, not tomorrow, day after tomorrow. Not the day after that, but again the day after that. Okay, so this is the meaning of every other month or every other year or every other day. So here I try to visit my relatives in my hometown every other. That would be the right option. It is an idiom again. Then what is the next sentence? We are not interested dash your family problems. Okay, and the options that are given on, in, and usually the preposition that goes with interested is in. We are not interested in your family problems. Then, who is the girl Madhu is talking to? I'm not sure. She dash be her sister. And there are three options given: may, might, could. And this is a trick question because all the three options are correct. May, might, could. All these are modal verbs. You have studied modal verbs during your +2. Okay. All these are modal verbs and they express possibility. May, might, could. All these words, they express possibility. So who is the girl Madhu is talking to? I'm not sure. She may be her sister. She might be her sister. She could be her sister. Now, what is the difference between these words? All three are correct. You choose any one and you will get the mark here. But it is also important to understand, if all these three words, they express possibility, what is the difference between them? The difference is small, still the difference is there. May refers to a greater degree of possibility. When you say she may be her sister, it is likely that she is her sister. There is a greater possibility. When you use might or could, it means the possibility is less. She might be her sister. She could be her sister. It means it is doubtful. Okay. It is less likely to happen. Then what is the difference between might and could? If both of them refer to something that is less likely to happen, when probability or possibility is less, then what is the difference between might and could? Might, this word is used in formal contexts, and could is used in informal context. So these are just little differences that you have to remember. Otherwise, in this particular sentence, all three options are correct, and in any one option that you choose would fetch you the mark. Then, choose the correct form of the verb. This is another kind of sentence. My sister dash English every day, but today she dash mathematics. And in both cases, the word given in brackets is teach. Then there are two blanks and the same word. So there must be something different about the form of that verb which we will use in each blank. Okay. Now you see, if you remember the tense patterns, you will know that the simple present is used to express actions that happen every day, that happen regularly. And when we want to show a contrast to that action which happens regularly with something that is happening today, that is happening now, it is different from what usually happens. So in one case, we will use the simple present tense. In the other case, we will use the present continuous tense. That is all. If you know this particular thing, if you have studied your tenses properly, then you will be able to answer it. So probably for your examination, you should just revise all these things you know. But if you just revise your tenses, then it should be fine. My sister teaches English every day, something that happens regularly. So we use the simple present. My sister teaches, and my sister is in singular. Our verb has to agree with the subject. So my sister teaches English every day, but today she is teaching mathematics. That is the right answer. Let us go to the next sentence. Raja, then dash, within brackets, work as a waiter. There are two possibilities. Okay, you might use a simple present, you might use the simple past. Because there is no context, you are free to use either the present tense or the past tense. Raja works as a waiter or Raja worked as a waiter. When will we use the past tense, in what contexts? Raja worked as a waiter. Now he has a different profession. That is one context. Another context, Raja is dead. Raja is no more living. So Raja worked as a waiter. So these are the two contexts in which we can use the past tense. And as I have told you, in an examination, the contexts are not clear. So any one option would be right. Raja works as a waiter. Raja worked as a waiter. Then she dash, then within brackets, live here for 2 years. Similarly, we can use the past tense. She lived here for 2 years. Then she moved somewhere else. Okay. She has been living here for 2 years. When do we use this present perfect continuous? When she continues to live here. That is the thing. Okay. When she is still living in this particular place, we will use the present perfect continuous. She has been living here for 2 years. That is the difference. So both are correct. Then another kind of question that is asked is on phrasal verbs. So what is a phrasal verb? That you must know. A phrase that consists of a verb with a preposition or adverb or both, the meaning of which is different from the meaning of its separate parts. Okay. So when we use a preposition, let us say, with a particular verb, see, talked about, that is different. That is not a phrasal verb. You talk about something, that is a preposition. It does not change the meaning of the word talk. Okay. But look at something like break out. Break out. Okay. So out is a preposition and here the verb is break. So you know the meaning of the word break, the usual meaning. You break something. Right. Out. When these two words combine, it has a special meaning. Break out. It means start suddenly, or another meaning, escape. Break out from a prison, break out from jail means escape from a prison. Or the war broke out means war started suddenly. War broke out between the two countries. That means war between the two countries started suddenly. Now you see, these meanings are totally different from break. Okay, so break out is a phrasal verb. Okay, and you have to make sentences using the phrasal verbs. That is what I found in the question paper. Which means what? You have to first understand the phrasal verb and only then you can make a sentence with it. So I told you about breakout. Let us see. Start suddenly or escape. Two meanings. So two kinds of sentences are possible. One, forest fires have broken out across the district. Forest fires have broken out across the district. So as I have told you, you can use a suitable tense of the phrasal verb as well when you use the phrasal verb in a sentence, because a sentence has a particular context and your tense has to agree with that context. So forest fires have broken out across the district. Then the other meaning, their attempt to break out of prison failed. So they attempted to escape from prison, but their attempt failed. That is the meaning of this sentence. Their attempt to break out of prison failed. Okay. Then the other phrasal verb that is given, take after. You know the meaning of take, right? And when after combines with take, the meaning is totally different. Take after means resemble or look like someone else. So it is totally different from the meaning of the word take. That is why take after is a phrasal verb. Resemble or look like someone. She takes after her mother. That is how we will use it in a sentence. That means she looks like her mother. Okay. Then another category of questions is forming adjectives from nouns. So you have to, suppose nouns are given to you, the words that are given to you are nouns. You have to form adjectives from those nouns and you have to form sentences with those adjectives that you have formed. This is one kind of question that is asked. See, this is a very useful exercise. When you look for a word in the dictionary, you will find that meanings are given, yes, but different parts of speech of the same word, they are given. That, you know, if it is a noun, it is like this. If it is a verb, it is this way. If it is an adjective, this is the word. If we are to make an adverb, then this is the word. Okay. So beauty, let us look at the word beauty, B-E-A-U-T-Y. It is a noun. Okay. Now we want a verb from beauty. So our verb would be beautify. You beautify a garden. It means you make a garden beautiful. Okay. So verb B-E-A-U-T-I-F-Y, beautify. Then beautiful, it is an adjective. This is a beautiful garden. Adjective. Okay. Then adverb. Adverb means it must be saying something more about a verb or an adjective. Adverb, that is what we mean by adverb. It will say something more about a verb or about an adjective. Okay. So the house was beautifully decorated. How was it decorated? Beautifully. So ly got attached to beautiful, and that is how we have the adverb beautifully. So from one word, we can make so many other words. And that is the beauty of language. Okay. So beauty, beautify, beautiful, beautifully. All right. So here you have a question that asks you to form adjectives. Nouns are given, you have to form adjectives. So for that, you need to understand what are nouns, what are adjectives, what are verbs, and what are adverbs. And it won't be a big problem for you because these are the basic things which we have been learning since the time which we spent in school. Okay. Now, form adjectives from the following words and make sentences of your own. Miracle. Miracle is noun. From miracle comes the word miraculous, which is an adjective. He made a miraculous recovery after the accident. So this is an adjective. Adjective means it will come before a noun. So recovery, it is a noun. And recovery, from this noun, we have a verb, recover. So recover is the verb. Recovery is the noun. So it is really interesting to notice these things. Okay. While we are reading the text, we'll find so many words which, you know, we can form words with different parts of speech. Okay. Just if we think that way, if we are curious enough to ask ourselves, okay, so this is a noun, what would be the adjective of this particular word? All right. So miracle, noun, miraculous, adjective. He made a miraculous recovery after the accident. That means unexpected. Okay. Then the other word is vehicle. Okay. Then the adjective that is formed from this word is vehicular. Okay, you will notice that we will not be given, you know, specific formulae or rules that will help us to make nouns from verbs, or adjectives from adverbs, or adjectives from nouns. So we have to expose ourselves to language more and more, and then we will be able to know these things. So vehicle, vehicular. Usually, in newspaper reports, you will find, if you read an English newspaper, and if you read about road accidents, and if you read about new reforms in laws, you will usually come across the word vehicular traffic. That is why I say you have to read English more and more. Okay. It does not matter whether you understand everything or whether you understand very little of it. Does not matter. You have to make that effort. You have to practice it every day. Practice reading, writing, speaking, and listening. All these 4 skills. If you practice, then you will be able to acquire these things. These things cannot be acquired in one day. Okay, it is a continuous process. So vehicle is the noun and its adjective is vehicular. So road accidents are increasing day by day because people do not follow vehicular traffic laws. Traffic is noun. What kind of traffic? Vehicular traffic. Okay. This is all. I mean, from whatever analysis I made of the question papers, I found that these were the main things which will help you to revise for the grammar portion. Just think active and passive voice, direct and indirect speech, then forming nouns from adjectives or vice versa. All right, changing the parts of speech, then a subject verb agreement, then choosing the right form of the verb. That means being well versed with your tenses. Okay, then correcting the error in a particular sentence. Do as directed. Whatever is asked, you have to do it. So all these things, they actually test your general ability in a particular language. What have you been learning all these years right from your school days onwards? Okay. So I hope this discussion has given you an idea of how to deal with the grammar questions in your AECC II English paper. And I wish you all the best. Do well. And remember my words. Please expose yourself to more and more of English regularly, and that will help you acquire this language. Today, you might feel that you don't understand what is being said, but if you continue your efforts, if you continue listening to this language more and more, one day you will find that you understand so much of what is being spoken in English. So happy learning and have a good examination. All the best. I stop here.